You know those little things you do without even thinking about them? Those little quirks and habits? Well, what if they're not so random? What if those tiny, subconscious actions are actually telling a much deeper story about who you really are, where you came from, and even how your brain is wired?
Seriously, just think about it for a second. The way you sleep, how you walk down the street, even a simple handshake. Could these tiny little tells reveal your biggest truths? It's a pretty wild idea, and we're about to dive right in.
So the material we're digging into today makes some really bold claims. It connects our everyday behaviors to some really deep psychological stuff. So come on, let's unpack these ideas and see what they have to say about the hidden language of our habits.
Okay, first up, we're going to talk about the past. The idea here is that our childhood years are still having a huge effect on us today. The theory is that some of our habits aren't random at all. They're basically echoes of our experiences when we were kids.
All right, let's start with this one. Do you ever find yourself glancing over your shoulder a lot when you're walking? According to the source, that might not be about what's happening right now. Instead, it could be a sign that you didn't feel totally secure or supported when you were growing up.
Here's another one so many of us do, sleeping curled up in a ball. The source connects this right back to fears from childhood. It suggests that it's your subconscious trying to feel safe and protected, even now that you're an adult.
And for the last one in this section, how about holding on to little things? You know, like an old ticket stub, a smooth rock from the beach? Well, this could be interpreted as a way of finding meaning in objects. Maybe because you felt a little overlooked in the past.
Okay, so we've talked about the past. Now let's switch gears and jump into the present, your social world. How do our little behaviors play out when we're around other people? This is all about the psychology of our social lives.
Now, this is where things get really fascinating, almost a little backward. For instance, the people who give the absolute best advice, a lot of the time, they have the most problems themselves. And people who seem incredibly nice might be carrying a lot of hurt. There's also a little warning here about people who try to become your best friend overnight, and even a bit about how women tend to find men with deep voices more confident. Pretty wild, right?
Wow. This next idea is so powerful, it needed its own space. Just let this sink in. The person who's always trying to make sure everyone else is happy is often the one who ends up feeling the most alone. It's a pretty stark reminder that being a people pleaser can come with a really high price.
Okay, here's a specific social cue you can actually look for. The next time you shake someone's hand, pay attention. If they hold on for just a split second longer than you expect, the source says that isn't them being awkward. Nope, it's a sign that you're dealing with someone who's very, very confident.
All right, let's change topics and talk about intelligence. We usually think it means having quick answers and perfect handwriting, right? Well, this source suggests that the real signs of a sharp mind can be kind of weird and definitely surprising.
I love this because it's so counterintuitive. Check this out. Slow, messy handwriting. Apparently, that could just mean your brain is firing on all cylinders, moving way too fast for your hand to keep up. And get this, being forgetful? That's not a flaw. It could actually be a sign of high intelligence. Even having a great sense of smell is linked to having a sharp brain.
And the surprises just keep coming. Are you a night owl? Well, you might be better at making those big life decisions. If you have kids who started talking really early, they supposedly have incredibly strong memories. And you know that coworker who always wants to do things by themselves, they might just be the best worker on the team.
So all of this is super interesting, but what can we actually do with it? Well, this last section is all about practical stuff. Simple shifts you can make for your own health and happiness.
15. Just look at that number. What could it possibly mean? It's not a list, it's not a ranking, it's a comparison. And honestly, it's a pretty shocking one.
That's right. The source makes this absolutely startling claim that being lonely for a long time can be as physically damaging to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That just goes to show how deeply our social connections are tied to our physical well-being.
So what can we do to build a stronger mind? The source suggests 3 simple things. First, try to let go of the past. It's tough, I know, but it makes your journey through life so much lighter. Second, and this one sounds a little funny, talk to yourself. Apparently, it can boost your mood, your smarts, and your self-confidence. And third, travel. It's not just a vacation. It's great for your brain and can even help lower the risk of depression. And here's one final thought to completely reframe how we think about strength. Crying is not a sign of weakness. According to this, it's a sign of resilience. People who can cry and express their emotions are often the strongest ones out there. So from childhood echoes to social cues to signs of intelligence, we've gone through a lot of really fascinating claims. And whether you believe every single one or not, it's all a powerful reason to just stop and think about ourselves for a minute.
The real takeaway here isn't to just accept all this as fact. It's about using these ideas as a new lens to look at ourselves, and maybe others, with a little more curiosity. Because all our unconscious behaviors, they're definitely communicating something.
So I'll leave you with this question. While you were listening, was there one thing, one habit, that made you pause and think, hey, that's me? Which one of these ideas made you see yourself in a totally new light? What story are your habits telling?